Now this illustration deals with circuit conductors in accordance with 250.134 item 2 as well as 250.134b. But now notice where metal parts are required to be grounded, they shall be grounded by one of the methods indicated in 250.134.2, 250.140, and 250.142b. Now, I would like to call out a very important sections that should be reviewed to really get a good grip on equipment grounding and schemes. The equipment ground per 250.4, 250.118, 250.134.2, 300.3b, 300.5i, and 300.20, as well as 250.102E1 and E2 must be reviewed very carefully. Now 250.4 is some of the general requirements and principles of grounding. 250.118 is how we select a grounding scheme. 250.134.2, that used to be, I think, 250.134b, I believe, states that the equipment ground has to be routed with the phase conductors. 300.3b says the same thing. 300.5a says, yes, it has to be done the same way if the conductors and the raceway system's in the ground. 300.20 says, yes, they have to be routed together, entering and leaving enclosures. 250.102E1 says the equipment ground must be pulled on the inside of the raceway or the cable, just as the other sections. But if you look at 250.102E2, it says, no, that's not so for a 6-foot whip. You could run it on the outside, say from a disconnect to a motor. A 6-foot whip, I could run the binding means on the outside of the conduit and just tie wire it to the conduit, but only up to 6 foot. Now this is telling any designer that the basic general rules and requirements are that an equipment ground has to be routed inside the cable or raceway system with the ungrounded conductors and the neutral, except for the 6-foot length rule in accordance with 250.102E2. And then it tells us in the wrap-up, these metal parts should be grounded by an equipment grounding conductor within the same raceway, cable, cord, or otherwise run with the circuit conductors in accordance with 250.134.2 now. So keep that in mind, and I believe this used to be 250.134b, and now it's 2. So review very carefully. Then notice the grounded conductor or neutral to the left also has to be routed with the ungrounded phase conductors. So this is telling you, if you don't run that equipment ground inside that raceway system or cable, then you may have too high impedance, and it would take a longer time to maybe trip you over current device. And you may say, well, now we just looked at 250.130b, and you could run the equipment ground away from your hot conductor, ungrounded conductor, neutral. Yes, but only on a 15 or 20 amp circuit. And they're saying you would get enough current to open up your overcurrent device with that concept. So without a particular area of the code gives you a different requirement, this section prevails.